Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So I got a request from Cheryl, one of you guys, one of my subscribers, to make a granny square hat, and I'm just now getting to that request. As you guys know, I've been busy making all those scarf and other hat tutorials, but I'm finally getting to her request. So in today's video we're going to be making this. Now I know a lot of you beginners, you get intimidated very easily, okay, and you may think that you can't make this, but the reality is you can. Okay, everything can be broken down, and although my channel is for beginners, that's how I teach, I have always stated from the very beginning, the advent of this channel, that you shouldn't remain a beginner. Okay, so while I am meeting you where you're at, so to speak, as a beginner, my hope for you is that you progress and that you slowly start to take on more challenging works. Okay, not that this is challenging. Any and everything can be broken down into smaller pieces, digestible pieces, and before you know it, you've created something wonderful. All right, let's get to it. So things you will need for this tutorial include a pair of scissors as always, a darning, weaving, tapestry needle as always. You're going to need some yarn. If you're only going to make it a solid color, you only need one skein. However, if you want to change it up and use, two different colors, then you need two skeins. And you can, use as many colors as you want. And I'm using a size medium for yarn, which calls for a size 5.5 millimeter US hook. But you guys know, if you've seen my videos before, I usually like to use a bigger crochet hook, so I'm going to use a size 7 millimeter US hook. Okay, it combats my tension. Alright, so this video is going to be broken up into different sections. First, we're going to crochet this top part of the hat. Okay, notice it does still have that, even though it's circular, it does still have that granny square sort of pattern. Okay, then once we get that made, then we're going to make the actual granny squares that will go along the side of the hat, and then we are going to finish it off by making this nice border. Okay, let's get to it. So we will start with making a slip knot. Okay, so wrap around, twist, exchange, wrap that around that way, pull this one over that one and off your finger while lifting up on the one that's on your finger. Insert your crochet hook into the hole and pull to tighten. Now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in that very first chain, which happens to be the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to put a double crochet. So yarn over, go all the way back to that very first chain there. Okay, just go in there like that, yarn over, pull through to the front. You're going to have 3 loops. Yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. Yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. Go back in there and put another double crochet into that same first chain. 3 loops, yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. Yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. Alright, so by putting those 2 double crochet into the very first chain, or what was the 4th chain from the hook when the hook was there, we have left 3 chains on the end. Okay, and those 3 chains will count as a double crochet. So we have the 3 chains, which is 1 double crochet, and then 2 actual double crochet, which leaves us with 3 double crochet. After you crochet 3 consecutive double crochet, you always chain 2. So chain 1, chain 2. Now we're going to go back into that first chain and put 3 more double crochet. So yarn over into that first chain and make 3 more double crochet. That's 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. Okay, we just made 3 more consecutive double crochets, so we're going to chain 2 again, 1, 2, and we're going to go back into that first chain and put 3 more double crochet. 1, back in there for 2, and back in there for 3. Okay, because we just made 3 consecutive double crochet, we're going to chain 2 1, 2, and we're going to go back in that first chain, okay, which it's getting a little bit bigger now that we're putting all these stitches in there, but that hole in the center, that's the first chain, and put 3 more double crochet. 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3, like that. Okay, because we just made 3 consecutive double crochet, we're going to chain 2 again, 1, 2. And if we were making a regular granny square at this point, we would just slip stitch, because we would have 4 sections. Okay, we have this one, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then that chain 2 there, once we connect it, would count as the corner, and we would have a nice square. But we're making the top part of that hat, which is circular, so we're going to put another group of 3 double crochet in there. So just slide those over and go back in there and put 3 more double crochet. So 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. Because we just crocheted 3 consecutive double crochet, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to slip stitch into that top chain, which is the third chain, 1, 2, 3, okay, which is there. So just go into the top chain and yarn over and pull all the way through like that. And now we get this, okay? So you see it's no longer a square, right? It's not really exactly a circle yet, but we will work on that. So now that we have slip stitched into the top chain of that chain 3 there, okay, we have these 2 double crochet next to it, and we're going to slip stitch through those because we want to get over here to that chain 2 space. So we'll just go into the top of the first actual double crochet, slice the icing off the top of the cake, yarn over and pull all the way through to slip stitch. And here's another double crochet. We'll do the same thing, slice the icing off the top of the cake, pull all the way through. Okay, that kind of advances us over to that chain 2 space, and then once we're there, we're going to go into that chain 2 space, yarn over and pull all the way through. So we slip stitched into the chain 2 space. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This chain 3 will count as the first of the 3 double crochet. Okay, so we have 2 more double crochet to make in that chain 2 space. So yarn over, go into the chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through to the front, 3 loops, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. That's 1. Go back in there and make another double crochet, and that is the second double crochet. Remember that chain 3 counts as a double crochet, so essentially we've made 3 double crochet. What do we do after we crochet 3 consecutive double crochet? Ah yes, we chain 2. So chain 2, 1, 2, and because round 2, which is where we're at now, is an increase round, we're going to go back into that same chain 2 space that we crocheted these stitches and put 3 more double crochet. So yarn over, go back into that same chain 2 space and make 3 more double crochet. 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. Okay, because we just crocheted 3 double crochet, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, find the next chain 2 space, which is there. So we're skipping these 3 double crochet, going into that next chain 2 space, and we're going to do exactly what we just did here. So we're going to put 3 double crochet in there, chain 2, and go back in there and put 3 more double crochet. So let me do this right quick so you guys can see. And then after I finish this, I'm going to let you guys go. Chain 2, go back in there, make 3 more double crochet, and I'll let you finish this round on your own because it's easy. Okay, every chain 2 space around is just getting 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochet in that same chain 2 space. So you have 1, 2, 3 more to do, just like you did these two, and I'll meet you there. So I have made it back around. I'm in that last chain 2 space, and I've already put my 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochet into that chain 2 space. And here's where I started round 2, right there. Okay, just want to show you, if I go back to round 1, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, chain 2 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for round 2, in each of those 5 chain 2 spaces, I put that combination. Okay, the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, just want you guys to be able to see it. I know the yarn is a little weird, but I really wanted to use this yarn because I think it's really cool, and it's gonna look amazing with this hat. Alright, so I completed the last grouping of 3 double crochet, and remember, what do you do after you crochet 3 double crochet consecutively? Yes, chain 2. So chain 1, chain 2. I'm going to slip stitch into the 1, 2, 3, that third chain up, or the top chain. Okay, so just go in there, yarn over, and pull all the way through. And just like before, when I started round 2, I'm going to slip stitch across to get me to that first chain 2 space there. Okay, so here's the double crochet. I'm just slicing the ice and yarning over and pulling all the way through. For 1, I'm going to do it again for the next one. That's 2. Okay, and then I'm over here in the chain 2 space. So I just go into the gap, the space, the hole, yarn over, and pull all the way through to slip stitch basically into that space. Alright, so now we're starting round 3. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm in that same chain 2 space. I'm going to put 2 double crochet. So 1, back in there for 2. Remember, counting that chain 3, which I will, as a double crochet, I have my 3 consecutive double crochet. What do I do after crocheting 3 double crochet consecutively? Yes, I chain 2. So chain 2, 1, 2. Now this round 3, is also an increase round, but we're not increasing as drastically as we did in round 2. In round 2, we increased in every chain 2 space. Okay, in round 3, we're going to increase in every other chain 2 space. Okay, so I'm going to start with this first chain 2 space, and I'm not going to increase. When I say I'm not going to increase, that means I'm just going to put 3 double crochet in there and then move on to the next chain 2 space, which is there. So I'm done. I've chained 2. That gets me across that gap right there, those 3 double crochet, and it takes me to the next chain 2 space, and in there I'm going to put my 3 double crochet. So 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3, chain 2, 1, 2, and because this one is an increase, I'm going to go back in there and put 3 more double crochet. So 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. Okay, so in this first chain 2 space, I did not increase. That's why you only see 3 double crochet, right? I did chain 2 to get me across over to the next chain 2 space, and because in this chain 2 space I did increase, this was considered an increase chain 2 space, I put 2 groupings of 3 double crochet separated by a chain 2. That means in the next one I'm going to put only 3 double crochet. Okay, but what do I need to do before I get over there? I need to get across these stitches. So what should I do? Chain 2, 1, 2, and then in this chain 2 space I'm just going to put 3 double crochet. 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. After the third double crochet is made, I chain 2, 1, 2. Now the question is, do I go back in here or do I go to the next one? Well, what's the pattern? The pattern is 1, 2, 1. So I go to the next one for my 2, which means I'm going to put 3 double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and go back in there and put that second one, that second group of 3 double crochet. And guys, you can slow this down on YouTube. I just want to show the pattern, okay? So 1, 2, 1, 2. The next one will get 1. The next chain 2 space will get 2 of them. The next one will get 1, 2, and so on, okay? So continue in that fashion and I'll meet you back around there. So at this point I have made it back around, and you'll notice that I ended on the 2, and when I say 2 that means I have 2 groupings of 3 double crochet separated by, of course, the chain 2, okay? So I started with the 1 and then 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then 2. How do I know I'm back around? If it's not obvious to you, just look for that chain 3. Okay, when you get back to that chain 3, that's when you know you've made it back around. But you should also end on the 2. Alright, so I'm going to do one more round, and it's going to be a non-increase round. That means that every chain 2 space around will just get the 3 double crochet, and then I'm moving on to the next chain 2 space. Okay, so as before, don't forget to chain 2, 1, 2 after those 3 consecutive double crochet, and now we're going to slip stitch into the top chain. You may not be able to see which is the top chain very well because of the yarn, but just count up 3, 1, 2, 3, or go into the top chain, okay, and slip stitch. Just like with the previous rounds, we're going to slip stitch across. So go through the first double crochet, go through the second double crochet, go into the chain 2 space, slip stitching all the way over. Now that I'm there, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go back in that same chain 2 space and put 2 double crochet. So that's 1 and this is 2. Chain 2, 1, 2, go into the next chain 2 space and put 3 double crochet. Remember, this is a non-increase round, so every chain 2 space will only get the 3 double crochet. Of course, you still chain 2 after the 3 double crochet, 1, 2, but then you move directly on to the next chain 2 space. Okay, this is the 3, chain 2, 1, 2, and then move on right there. 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. Chain 2, 1, 2. Okay, so notice every chain 2 space, there's 1, there's 1, there's 1, there's 1. Each one only got the 3 double crochet. Okay, there's no more of the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Okay, this will help to round it out even more. And yeah, once I complete this round, then I will have the diameter that I need for the size of the head that I'm making this hat for. So continue putting 1 grouping of 3 double crochet in each chain 2 space, and I will meet you there. So I have made it back around, as you can probably see, and I just wanted to let you guys know that my diameter is about 7 inches, so almost 18 centimeters. Okay, and I am on the verge of completing round 4. Now say you were making this for a kid, a child. Obviously you wouldn't need a diameter this size. Okay, maybe you only needed to do round 1, of course, and then round 2. Okay, so that would take you to like a little bit more than 3.5 inches, which is about 9.5 centimeters. Okay, and then at that point you could do the non-increase round of just putting, you know, 1 grouping of 3 double crochet into every stitch around. Okay, so that's how you figure out like how large or how many rounds you need to do. You think about the crown of the head of the person that you're making the hat for. Make sure that it can fit on top of their crown completely. Once it fits the crown, then you've gone wide enough. Okay, so you kind of have to have a little bit of foresight. Okay, maybe you're doing round 3 and then you're like, okay, 1 more round and that'll be my non-increase round, which will help to make it circular. After that round, after completing that round, it will be big enough to fit the crown of the head of the person I'm making it for. So I'm going to do that, you know. And that's how I gauge how large I need to make my hats. Okay, I would say this 7 inches. This is probably somewhere between like a medium and a large. Okay, but also I am using a larger hook. So if you had gone with the 5.5 millimeter US crochet hook, then this would probably be smaller. Okay, so it all kind of just depends, and you kind of have to pay attention to how you crochet, and just take note and remember things for future projects that you make. But this is how I go about figuring out the size. Okay, hopefully that helps. I know I always get a lot of questions from you guys about, what if I'm making one smaller, what if I make it for an adult? Always ask yourself what diameter you need to fit the crown of the head. Okay, and then at that point you will be set, because you'll be done with increased rounds and it will start to curve and it'll mold to the head of the person that you're making it for. Alright, so to really complete this round 4, I'm going to slip stitch into the 1, 2, 3, the third chain up, like that. Alright, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to cut my yarn and fasten off. Alright, so now we're about to move on to the section where we make the granny squares, which will form the sides of the hat. And you might be wondering, well, how many granny squares do I have to make? Okay, so let's look at a granny square. I happen to have some extras from the other hat, and you'll notice that each side has 1, 2, 3, right? 3 of those groupings of 3 double crochet, right? 1, 2, 3, that side. Any side you pick. 1, 2, 3. Any side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So, if we count how many groupings of 3 we have around this, then we'll have an idea of how many granny squares we actually need to make. So let's start with the tail, because that's a good marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay? So that tells us, because each side has 3 groupings, that we're going to need 5 granny squares, because 5 times 3 equals 15. Okay? So now I know how many granny squares I need to make, because when I connect them, it will all fit very nicely. Alright, so starting our granny square. Remember, if you're like me, you're going to need to make 5 of these. I'm just going to show you how to make the first one, because they're all identical. Or they should be, at least. Okay, so wrap around. So we start by making the slip knot, like before. You've seen this at the beginning of this video. Alright. And now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put 3 double crochet into that very first chain that we made. So yarn over and go in there and make 1 double crochet, go back in there to make the second double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Okay? Now we're going to go back in there and put 3 consecutive double crochet, all in that first chain. And that tail, if it wants to get in the way, just pull it out of the way. Okay? There's no stopping you. So 1, back in there, 2, back in there, 3. Okay? Chain 2. 1, 2, back into the chain for 3 more double crochet. 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. Alright, chain 2. 1, 2. Do we have a square yet? No, almost. We have 1, 2, 3 sections. We have 1, 2 corners. We need 2 more corners, right? So let's continue going with 1 more grouping of 3 double crochet. Back in that first chain, put 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Now we have how many corners? We have 1, 2, 3, And then when we chain 2, 1, 2, and slip stitch into that top chain there, we will have 3. Now we have 4 corners. We have a square. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Slip stitch across to the chain 2 space, just like before. 1, second double crochet, 2, chain 2 space, 3, and now chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's what we have so far. So starting round 2 with the chain 3, this will be an increase round. And before I get started, I just want to point out that when I made the circle, I had 5 sections, right? Because I wanted to go for a more rounded approach, but I only made 4 of the groupings of 3 double crochet because I want it to be square. Okay. All right. So every chain 2 space, and we have 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 will be an increase, okay, an opportunity to increase. So we have the chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. We're going to go back in there and put 2 more double crochet, 1 back in there for 2. Now chain 2, 1, 2, but because this is increase, we're going to go back in there for 3 more double crochet. Okay, 1, 2, back in there for 3. Keep losing my crochet hook. Okay. Alright, so now chain 2, 1, 2, go across the water, if you will, to get to the next chain 2 space, and put 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2, 1, 2, as we do after every 3 consecutive double crochet, but because this is an increase, we go back into that same chain 2 space and put 3 more double crochet. 2 and 3. And that's what gives us those nice corners, okay? It's because they come like that and the chain 2 space makes it turn, okay? Chain 2, 1, 2. Here's the next chain 2 space, 3 double crochet. 1 back in there for 2, back in there for 3, chain 2, 1, 2, back in there because it's increased for 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we've completed 3 corners, 1, 2, and 3. We have 1 more corner. Thankfully we have 1 more chain 2 space, so it works out. But before we do that, we got to get across the water by chaining 2, 1, 2, and now put our 3 double crochet in there. 1, back in there for 2, back in there for 3. But because this is increase, after chaining 2, 1, 2, we go back in there and we put 3 more double crochet to complete the corner. 2 and 3. After 3 double crochet, remember you always chain 2, okay? And now that takes us back to the beginning, just in case it wasn't obvious, just like for the chain 3, okay? And slip stitch into the top chain, 1, 2, 3, just there. And pull all the way through. And now we're going to slip stitch across, so we're going to slip stitch through that one, and then into the chain 2 space. So slice the icing off the top of the cake, slip stitch 1, next double crochet, slip stitch 2, chain 2 space, slip stitch 3. Tongue twister. Alright, now we chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and we will put 2 double crochet into that chain 2 space, 1, back in there, for 2. Because we're in the corner, we need to chain 2, 1, 2, and put 3 more double crochet in there. Because remember, the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 more double crochet is what causes it to curve. It forms the corner, right? Okay? But look here. Is this a corner? No, that's not a corner. This is a corner. So we're going to do something different here. we still chain 2 after the 3 consecutive double crochet. But because this is in a corner, we don't need that extra grouping of 3 double crochet. So we're only going to put 1 group of 3 double crochet in there. So yarn over, go in there, and make your 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. 1, 2. Okay? This is the side now, so we don't need to put an extra grouping there. Where would it go? We don't want it to curve yet, right? This is the corner. This is where we want it to curve. So we're going to move on now. And this, because this is a corner, we're going to put 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 more double crochet in it. So this is the third one, chain 2, 1, 2, back in there. Okay, for 3 more double crochet. Alrighty. See? Okay. So continue in this fashion on around. Just to give you a heads up, this one right here, because it's the side, that's only going to get 3 double crochet. But then the next one, that next chain 2 space, that's going to be in the corner. And remember, to form the corner, you need 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 more double crochet. So non-increase, increase, non-increase, increase, non-increase, and I'll meet you there. Alright, so as you can see, I've made it back around. Notice that each corner, each of the 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them have the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 more double crochet. However, the sides only have the grouping of 3. So here's the first side, just a grouping of 3. Here's the second side, just a grouping of 3. Here's the third side, grouping of 3, and here's the fourth and final side, grouping of 3. I've chained 2, and now, instead of slip stitching into the 1, 2, 3 third chain up, I'm going to bypass it and go into the actual first double crochet there. Okay. Yarn over, pull all the way through, chain 1, cut my yarn, and fasten off. Okay. And remember, I told you each side, if it's going to fit, the crown portion of the hat should have 3 of those groupings of 3 double crochet, right? So let's check. 1, 2, 3. Pick a side, any side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it works, okay? So remember, you need 5 of these if your crown section has 15, okay? So I'm going to make 4 more of these squares. The granny squares are really easy, and I will meet you back when it's time to move on to the next section of this video. See you there. So I have my 5 granny squares all made, and now what we're going to do is we're going to connect them, okay? So I will do 2 at a time. Okay, so I'll connect this one to this one, and then this one to this one, and so on. Right now I'm looking at the front side. This is what the back side looks like, and there's the tail that's to the back. So you should clearly know what the back is, okay? You don't see a tail in the front, okay? So, starting with these 2, okay, they should be symmetrical, they should be congruent, right? Because you should have made them, you know, exactly the same way, and your tension should have been consistent. Now, these tails, where I fastened off, I want them to the top, or I guess in this video, it looks like it's, you know, to your left. The reason is because when I add the crown, okay, I'm going to crochet over them, so I'm going to lay them on top, okay? Notice that I'm looking at the front side of the crown. Once again, the tail is to the back. That's how you know where the back is. So it's important that you face everything to the front at this point, okay? All right, so let's move that out of the way. Let's get back to this. And I'm going to pull in the new color to connect them. I really wanted to use navy blue because I think it would look awesome with this colorway, but I realized that you guys will not be able to see it, so I'm going to use my second choice, which is white. Alright, so my tails are to the left. I have them lined up, And basically I am going to start in the corner. Okay, each corner, remember, is comprised of 2 chains. There's the first chain, there's the first chain, and there's the second chain. There's the first chain, there's the second chain. You're going to start in the second chain. Okay, so that's where you're going to put your crochet hook. In the second chain, the chain closest to the 3 double crochets. Okay, and then you're going to find on your other square that corresponding chain. So except you're going to be coming from the back side. Okay, so that's the first one and that's the second one, like that. Just go through it. When I fold it out like that, remember you should be looking at the front sides of both. No tails in the center. Okay, now I'm going to take my white yarn, make a slip knot. This is the 3rd time you're seeing me do this in this video now, so you should know how to do it. Okay, and now I'm going to hook it onto the crochet hook like that. And I'm going to pull to tighten. Alright. Okay, so now I'm going to pull that loop through both of those chains, the chain on that square and the chain on this square, to bring it through to the front. Okay, and now I'm going to just chain 1 like that to secure it. So that's what I have so far. Okay, now you guys, it gets even more interesting. So we're going to go through every stitch along this side. Okay, the thing is, we're only going to work on the inside stitches. So from this point of view, first of all, this is the next stitch. Okay, that's the first double crochet there. So this is the next stitch. We're only going to work on that inside. So here's the top of the stitch like that. We're only going to work on with that inside loop, and then the corresponding double crochet on the other square is here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're only going to work on that inside loop of that one. Okay, so what that looks like is, I'm going to bring it up to you, pull my yarn. Okay, so there's that inside loop. Notice the one out there is still there. And then for this double crochet, there's that inside loop. Notice that outside loop is on the other side there. Okay, so you have the 2 loops, and then you yarn over and you pull all the way through it to make a slip stitch. Okay, you can pull on that tail to tighten it. So inside loop of the square closest to you, and then the corresponding inside loop of the square away from you, farthest away from you, and then yarn over and slip stitch. Inside loop, here's that 3rd double crochet on that other square, inside loop, yarn over, pull all the way through. Okay, you should be lined up on both squares at the same place. So now we're at the chain 2 space. Okay, so I want you to go through the 2 chains. So here's the first chain, and then you'll go through the second chain, but you'll be going through the back. Okay, so just go in there. It doesn't have to be precise. Okay, and then yarn over and slip stitch, and then go through the second chain in that chain 2 space, and then find the second chain on the other square and go through like that. Yarn over and pull all the way through. Now we're to the groups of 3 double crochet again. So here's the outside loop. Remember, inside loop and inside loop right there. That's the, right there is the entire top, right? But you only want the inside loop. Okay, and then pull all the way through. Inside, inside, slip stitch. Inside, inside, slip stitch. Now we're to 2 more chains, so go through the first chain like that, and then the second one, if you're wondering, there's a little knot right there at the bottom. Just go just above the knot and you're going through the chain. Okay, next one is there. and then find the knot. There's the knot, so just above it, and you're in the chain. Just a little trick, okay? Alright, last set of 3 double crochet. So inside loop, slip stitch, inside loop, slip stitch, inside loop. Notice how I split the top, right? Went right in the middle there, slip stitch. And now we're only going to go through that first chain there. So through that one, and then just above the little knot on the other square, and slip stitch. Okay? Now chain 1, cut your yarn, and fasten off like that. And now when we spread it, you will have this. Okay? That's what it's going to look like. I know it's a lot of tails. Don't worry about that right now. When we connect the top, we will crochet over all of them. Of course, you could use your darning weaving tapestry needle to weave them in, but you guys know I don't like that. I hate weaving in tails, and I try to crochet over them whenever possible. Okay? So this is what it looks like. Okay? And now you're just gonna connect each successive square. So you'll connect this one to that one. Remember, always have this tail off to the left. Make sure you're looking at the front side. Okay, it's off to the left, but you can see the tail on the back, so that means that's the back side of the square. That's not what you want. You want this. That tail should be closer to the bottom, right? So connect that one to that one, that one to that one, and that one to that one. Once you've done that, I will meet you back, and all 5 squares will be connected. Okay? See you there. Alright, so as you can probably see, we're all connected. 1, that's the first connection. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And also, remember, this left side is where we're going to connect the crown part. So let's make sure we have 15 of those groups of 3 double crochet. 1, 2, oh, you can't see. Haha, just kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so it works out. So now, before we connect the crown, we're gonna bring it in. So this is the back side. It's evidenced by these tails. Okay, and we're gonna connect this last one. Okay, so we have one more to connect, and I will connect this one on camera just in case you need to see it again. So make the slip knot. 4th time I'm doing it for you guys. Pull to tighten. Okay, and just go through that first chain in the corner. Technically it's the second one. 1, 2. So second one, the one closest to the grouping of 3 double crochet. Okay, stick it in there. It doesn't matter really the order that you do that. Just get in, you know, if you want to put the slip knot on first or put it on second and then pull through, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that it's in the front. Okay, now find the corresponding chain on the other square and go through it. Okay, now yarn over like that and pull all the way through for a slip stitch and pull to tighten like that. Alright, your tail might tend inward, so it's fine, just let it go in between. You can pull it out like that. Okay, now if you line everything up, your needle, your crochet hook will pretty much go where it needs to go. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so now working with the next double crochet, I go into that back loop, and then because it's lined up, it's on the inside loop of the other square, and I can just easily make my slip stitch. Back loop, see how it lines up really nicely? I don't even really have to look. As soon as I go there, it's already there on the other square. Okay, same thing for the chains. I can go through them separately, like 1, and then try to find the other one on the other square, 2. Or I can just keep everything lined up and go through both, like I'm about to do now. Like that, see? and I've gone through the chain in both squares. Okay, back loop, or inside loop, inside loop. See how it's lined up so nicely? So if you keep the squares nice and lined up, then everything will be where you need it to be when you need it to be there. Now I'm at the chain 2 spaces again to keep everything lined up and just go through both loops, both squares, the loops on both squares, however you want to say it. Okay, and it makes it really easy and fast. Okay, one more section, loop loop, slip stitch, loop loop, slip stitch, loop loop, slip stitch, and don't forget about the last chain to make it symmetrical. We did one chain on this end, so we want to do one chain on this end. Slip stitch, chain 1, cut our yarn, and fasten off. Pull to tighten. Okay, and this is what we have so far. Okay, everything is connected. Okay, and this is the top, you guys. Zoom out a little bit so you can see. This is the top, and this is where we're going to put the crown section. We're going to put this on top like that. Okay, make sure the outside is facing you. Okay, remember the inside is where the tail is in the center. You don't want that. You want it like this. Okay, now remember we counted 15 of those groups of 3 double crochet, which will correspond to the 15 around here. So now all we need to do is just match it up anywhere. It doesn't really matter where we match it. You can start wherever you want. Okay, I'll do this. I'll grab a chain 2 space, and then I'll grab a chain 2 space there like that, and I'm going to turn this so that I'm looking at it like this. Okay, so I'm going to start this way, and then I'm just going to crochet around this way. Okay, and I'm going to do so in my white yarn. So I'll make another slip knot. I think this is the 5th time I'm doing it on camera. Insert. Okay, so now let's see. I think I'm going to start here. It doesn't matter. Just pick any chain 2 space. Okay. Yeah, I'll start there. In the chain 2 space, there's my slip knot. Yarn over and pull through and tighten like that. Alright, so remember I told you all those tails, including the tail that we just created, you're going to crochet over those. Okay, so here's a tail. We can stick that inside if we don't want to crochet over it, or we can pull it through and lay it on top with all the other tails that we're about to crochet over. It's really up to you guys. Okay, don't get overwhelmed by the tails, just crochet over them. And if they stick out, you can always just weave them in or cut them down later. Okay, so basically we're going to go around and we're going to put a single crochet in every stitch and 2 single crochet in every chain 2 space. 1 single crochet for each chain. Okay, so in this chain 3 that I see here, I'm just going to go on the top of it. Okay, put all those tails all on top. Alright, and then find the corresponding stitch. It's an actual double crochet over here. It doesn't matter though. Okay, put the tails on top, yarn over, pull all the way through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 for a single crochet. And with these, I'm no longer going in the back loops. I'm going in the entire top of the stitch like that. So top, and then top of that stitch over there, lying the tails on top, and then making a single crochet. Okay, here's that 3rd double crochet, and then the corresponding one on the actual granny square over there, and I'm making a single crochet. Now I'm at the chain 2 space. Okay, so put 2 double crochet in there, 1 and then another one. You can pull those tails so they lie flat, 2. Okay, and now you guys, I'm again at another grouping of 3. So slice the icing off the top of the cake. Lie the tail on top. There's another tail that just came. These tails are crazy, but that's why I'm crocheting over them. So, okay, so slice the icing off the top of the first double crochet. Go into the first double crochet of the granny square of that grouping of 3. Lie all those tails on top. Yarn over. 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. Okay? So that's what's happening. I'm just crocheting. I'm attaching this to the sides, to the granny square, okay? And I'm just crocheting over the tails simultaneously, okay? It seems a lot more complicated than it actually is, but basically, yeah, you're just single crocheting the 2 pieces together like that. If you don't want to worry about all those tails, you can always just pull them on the inside and not crochet over them, weave them in later, or cut them down. It's your preference, okay? Now we're at another chain 2 space section on this crown section and on the granny square section. So we'll put 2 single crochets in there, like that. And now we're back to the 3 double crochets. Okay, that's 1, that's 2, third one, that's 3. I want that to lie down. That's 3. Now we're at another chain 2 section, so just 2 single crochets in there. And as I said, if a tail sticks out like that, you don't have to do it now, but you can always just cut it down later. Okay, so don't stress over that. But basically, we are just crocheting, as I said, the crown section to the sides, and I'm going to be crocheting over all these tails as I go around. Okay, all the tails that are up at the top, I'm going to crochet over them. As far as these that are at the bottom, I'm going to crochet over those as well once I start to work on the brim part. Okay, so just continue in this manner, going through each stitch, finding its corresponding one on the other part, the granny square part, and yeah, I will meet you once I get all the way back around to there. See you there. Alright, you guys, I am almost done, almost back around. Just wanted to show you I have 3 more sections of 3 double crochets on each area to crochet now to bind together with the single crochet in the white that I'm using. Okay, so make sure everything lines up. Okay, so double crochet for crown, double crochet for granny square, lie the tail on top, and make a single crochet. 1, the next one is there, and there. 2, the next one is there, and there for 3. Okay, now chain 2 space, 2 single crochets. That's 1, and back in there for 2. Alright, now second grouping of 3 double crochet, lying all the tails on top, or as many as you can get. Remember, you can always cut them down later. Keep losing my crochet hook. Alright, 1. Just make sure you're going into the corresponding stitch on the other piece. Okay, 2 and it's 3. Chain 2 space, 2 single crochets, 1, 2. Alright, last section of 3 double crochet. That one, and then that one on the granny square, 1, and then this one, 2. And once again, it helps when you have everything lined up, 3. And then last chain 2 space, we'll get 2 single crochets. Okay, and now I'm just going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet that I made. Okay, chain 1, cut my yarn, and fasten off. And I will weave that in, or yeah, I'll weave that in later. Okay, so this is what you have. This is the top of our crown, and yeah, this is what our hat is looking like. Isn't it beautiful, our granny square hat? Alright, so that's the top. Now it's time to crochet the bottom section, okay? Alright, so it does not matter where you start, okay? But you will make a slip knot. I think this is a number 6. Insert your hook. Okay, I'm going to start just on the other side of where I joined these two granny squares. Okay, so I'm going to start like there, right there. Okay, and then I'm just going to yarn over and pull through like that. Okay, so now you guys just put one single crochet in every stitch or space around, stitch or chain. Okay, so I'm in the chain 2 space. I'm going to put 2 single crochet in there. So if I pull that down, I should be able to get in there. Okay, that's 1. I want to start to crochet over that tail that I just created as well. So I'm going to lay it on top and then go back in there for 2. Okay, here where you bind it, the 2 squares together, you can just go in there somewhere in the center and make a single crochet. Okay, like that. Alright, here I'm at the chain 2 space, so 2 single crochets it will get. 1, 2, and now I'm at these 3 double crochets, so I'm just going to slice the icing off the top of the cake and make a single crochet in each one of them. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2 space, 2 single crochets, 3 double crochets, 1 single crochet in each one, like that. Okay, chain 2 space gets 1, 2 single crochet. In every stitch, whether it's a chain or a double crochet, we'll just get 1 single crochet. Chain 2 space gets 2 single crochets. Remember, where you bind, just go in there somewhere and make a single crochet. Okay, chain 2 space, don't forget this chain 2 space after you bind it. Okay, it should get 2 single crochets. Okay, so just continue in this fashion all the way around and I will meet you there. Alright, so I'm almost back around. I'm at the 3 double crochet, so put my single crochet in there. 1, 2, and 3. Alright, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that I made. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to put 2 double crochet in the back loop of every single crochet. Okay, so I'm going to start where I made that chain 3. I'm going to yarn over and just put another double crochet in there like that. Okay, but then in the next single crochet I'm going to put 2 double crochet in the back loop. So remember, that's the entire loop, that's the back loop. So yarn over, bypass the front loop, go to the back loop and put a double crochet. Go back into that back loop and put a second one. Now we move on to the next single crochet. Yarn over, go into the back loop. See how there's the front one that's untouched. Go in the back loop and make a double crochet like that. Okay, so in the back loop of every single crochet, I want you to put 2 double crochet. Back loop, double crochet, back in there for a second double crochet. Next one, back loop, double crochet, back in there for a second double crochet. Okay, so continue in that fashion and I'll meet you once you get there. See you soon. Alright, I am back around. Put my 2 double crochet in the back loop of that final single crochet. I'm going to bypass this chain 3 and slip stitch into the actual double crochet there. So just pull it through like that. Now I'm going to grab the other color that I was working with, put it on my crochet hook, pull it through, and then I'm going to pull on the white yarn to make that loop get small. And I'm going to pull on the other color as well. Alright, so once the white loop is small, I'm going to tie a couple of knots between the current color I'm working with, the tail of the current color I'm working with, okay, and the white. So 1 and then 2. And now I'm going to cut the white because I'm done with it. Alright, and now I'm going to make one more round, one more pass, just putting slip stitches in every stitch, okay? So here where I went in, where I started this, where I slip stitch, I'm just going to go in, yarn over, and pull through, all the way through to the front. Okay, so that's 1. Next stitch, get that tail out of the way, I'll weave that one tail in. 2, next stitch, pull through. Next stitch, yarn over, pull all the way through. Next stitch, yarn over, pull all the way through. Next stitch, yarn over, pull all the way through. Next stitch, yarn over. I'm telling you, I'm losing it today. Pull all the way through. Next stitch, yarn over, pulling it all the way through. Literally and figuratively. Next stitch, yarn over, pull all the way through. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a nice little border of slip stitches all the way around, and I'll meet you there, right there. Alright, I am at the last double crochet, so I'm gonna put a slip stitch in there. And then that's going to take me to the chain 3 that I bypassed. So I'm going to bypass it again and go into the same place where I started. And just move that tail out of the way, just put another slip stitch there without pulling the tail through. Okay, I like that. So it connects, okay? Now I'm going to chain 1, cut my yarn fast enough. Then I'm going to tie a couple of knots with the tails that are here. Okay, so 1, 2, why the heck not 3? 3. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut these down. I like to leave a tail, as many of you know, because it kind of serves as a tag for me. This one is kind of tending up, so I think I'm just going to pull that through, pull these all through a stitch, just to get it tending on the inside, so like a back loop, so it's not seen, so it doesn't bleed through to the front. So like the back loop, like that, and then I'll pull those down through like that. And see, you can't see it in the front, but now they're in the back. Okay, and I could tie a knot, but this is sufficient. Okay, so in terms of this tail, you might remember this one. You can just take your darning weaving tapestry needle and weave it through the white yarn that's in the area, or if you want, you can just feed it through to the inside of your granny square bucket hat. It is your preference. Okay, I'm just gonna go through some stitches in one direction like that. Okay, and then without losing the yarn, I'm going to try to go back, taking a slightly different path in the opposite direction. Like that. Okay? And then I'll just cut that down without cutting my work. Alright, you guys. So, yeah, this is what you get. Obviously, there are a lot of tails on the inside. You can weave these in. All of this is the same color in that area, so you can weave them in, or you don't have to do anything with them because it's on the inside. But yeah, this is what I have come up with in terms of a granny square hat, and I think it's just beautiful, quite honestly. I like the yarn, and I really liking the white. Maybe I am happy I used the white rather than the navy blue. I think the navy blue would look cool, but the white really sets it off for sure. So Cheryl from the Philippines, hopefully you enjoy this video. Hopefully this has fulfilled your request. And yeah, let me know if you end up making one. Very easy. Beginners, please don't be intimidated by this. Don't be intimidated by all the tails. It's just part of the process. But yeah, keep it simple, okay? It's really not hard. Just break it down in little pieces, little sections like I did in this video, and you will arrive at something great. Alright? That is going to be it for this video, but I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, happy crocheting!